Hey, Brendan Lowe here from Jazz Piano School. Now, first off, I just want to let you know if you hear any banging or anything like that, it's just construction going on in the apartment next door. So just disregard all of that. Now, in this particular episode, I'm going to show you the 8 must-know jazz piano chords and voicings that you need. And now, basically, if you're familiar with Jazz Piano School, you'll know I don't just like to give you the fish, right? I like to teach you how to fish so you can eat forever. I don't want you to just eat for one day. And if I were to give you just 8 voicings, that's pretty much what it would be doing, right? So I'm gonna give you 8 structures and tools that you can use to implement voicings over any tune that you want. Pretty great, right? So you can use these structures, these 8 must-know structures and voicings, and expand upon them to drastically increase your voicing repertoire. It's gonna be absolutely awesome. So don't forget to go to jazzpianoschool.com/podcast130 to get the practice materials for this episode. With that being said, let's dive right into this episode.
All right, so here we are. The first jazz piano chord that you have to learn, you must learn, is going to be your triads. Now, intermediate and advanced players, just hold on, just be patient, okay? We're gonna get into the advanced stuff, okay? Trust me. So triads, right? Your triads in your major and minor triads are the basis, the foundation for all jazz piano chords to come. As a beginner, as an intermediate player, as an advanced player, you should be able to play all forms of any sort of triad. So a major triad is gonna be 1, 3, 5 of your major scale. So here's my C major scale. To build a major triad, I'm going to take 1, 3, and 5 of that major scale. There's a C major triad. Now, after you learn all your major scales, obviously, you can build a F major triad, you can build B flat major triad. And again, if you're looking to play pop, anything like that, that's what triads are based off of, right? That's all pop music, it's all triads. So you have to learn your triads. Now I played a major triad, right? What I'd recommend doing is learning that in all keys, all different ways, up, down half steps. You can go up major or minor thirds here, right? All sorts of variations to practice. This is for all your chords that I'm going to teach you today. Now, your minor triad is going to simply lower the third, flat third of your major triad, right? Now we've created a minor triad, right? So here's my C minor triad. And again, I should be able to play my triads in both hands, separately, together, in all different keys. You want to be able to play them like, it should be like riding a bike. Like if I call out an A flat minor triad, you can just go boom. D flat major triad, boom, right? Or right hand, G major triad, right? D minor, B minor, F sharp minor. It doesn't matter. This is how comfortable you should be with all these different voicings I'm going to teach you. So step 1, you have to learn your triads, because step number 2, the second must-know jazz piano chord you need to learn is going to be your dominant 7th chord. Excuse me, not your dominant, your 7th chords, right? 7th chords. Now there are, just to note, there are other variations of triads, right? You have augmented triads, you have diminished triads and stuff like that. Obviously, you need to learn all of those, but your major and minor are going to be the 2 fundamental must-know triads for step number 1. Now, number 2, the second must-know jazz piano chord is going to be your 7th chords, all 7th chords. So what we're going to do to build a 7th chord is we're simply going to add another note to our triad, okay? And what we're going to start with is another note from our major scale. So what we did to build our major triad is we took 1, 3, and 5 of our major scale. Now we're going to add on the 7th of our major scale. Okay, the 7th note of our major scale. We've just created a 7th chord. This is a very, very common jazz piano chord. Now again, you should be able to play this in all keys. You can go through the circle of fourths, right? Go up in half steps, down half steps, left hand, right hand, hands together. Do that as much as possible. You should be so comfortable with that, okay? So your major, minor, and dominant 7th chords are obviously going to be the standard, the fundamental principle of jazz piano. You have to learn these chords. And again, just like your triads, your minor 7th, I'll show you what these chords are, but if we take our major 7th and we lower the 7th degree of our major 7th chord, we're going to create a dominant 7th chord. Okay, that's again another one of the must-know jazz piano chords in our 7th chord category, right? Now from here, if we take this dominant 7th chord and we lower the 3rd, we're going to get a minor 7th chord. Okay, and again, so those are the 3 I'd primarily focus on. And again, basically what you're going to want to do is practice through all the keys and learn those as much as possible. Like the triads, we have other forms of seventh chords. We have half diminished, we have full diminished, right? We have a lot of different types of seventh chords, but those three, major 7, dominant 7, and minor 7, you're really going to want to learn. So that's number 2, okay? Number 2, must know jazz piano chords, is going to be your 7th chords, right? Number 3 is going to be your rootless voicings, okay? And you may hear this as structure, like 1, structure 2. You might hear this as, I don't know, there's so many different names, but, your rootless voicings are going to add extensions into your voicings. So basically, if you play a dominant 7, this kind of sounds bland. How do we make it actually sound like jazz? Well, these rootless voicings are going to be that next first step into actually getting a jazz chord from a rich jazz lush sound out of the piano. Let me show you what I mean. So if we take a D minor 7 chord, right? What we're going to do for our rootless voicings is we're going to take some of the degrees of our D minor 7th chord. We're going to leave the root out. That's why they're called rootless voicings. We're going to take the 3rd, 5, 7. We're actually going to put what we call an extension on the top. It's called the 9, right? And the reason it's called a 9 is if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's simply the 9th degree if we continue to count the numbers up the scale, right? So my rootless voicing is going to be 3, 5, 7, 9 of the D minor. Now, just to simplify this video, obviously you can find your rootless voicings out. You can look for them. You can go to jazzpianoschool.com. We have lots of materials, free materials to get all of your rootless voicings and practice them and things like that. So be sure to check them out. But I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. What we're going to do from here, this is a rootless voicing. Now already you can tell this sounds like jazz. I use this voicing for minor chords all the time, right? All the time. Beautiful, beautiful chord, right? What we're going to do is we're going to voice lead this through the 3 7th chords I just taught you. Major 7th, dominant 7th, and minor 7th. Not in that order, though. We're going to go minor 7th because I just showed you the minor 7th. We're going to go to dominant 7th next. So what we're going to do here is we are going to take this middle note here, and this is going to be the 7th degree of the minor chord. Or you can think about it as just the 3rd note in the chord. That's probably easiest for beginners. What we're going to do is drop this down by a half step. So we're going to take the 3rd note in the chord, drop it down by a half step, keep all the other notes the same. This is going to give us our dominant 7th chord, right? Okay? That sounds like jazz, right? That's like giving you a jazz sound. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I can actually make a jazz sound out of that, right? This is an amazing, rich voicing, right? That we can use in all sorts of instances. Love this, right? Beautiful, beautiful voicing. It actually has like a jazz sound, and that's what a lot of you guys probably want, right? That's what I wanted when I was younger as well. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to keep that note we just moved the same, and we're going to move all the other notes. Okay, this is going to be a little bit harder, but what we're going to do is we're going to move the bottom note down by a half step. We're going to move this middle note down by a whole step. We're going to keep this note, and we're going to move this top note down by a whole step. So now we have our rootless major 7. So we started with our D minor 7, going to our G7, and then finally to our major 7 rootless voicing. Now we just played through a 2-5-1. That's a common jazz progression that you're going to see in all tunes everywhere, right? And I can do this in different keys, which is I'd recommend as well, right? Okay, so that is the first structure of your rootless voicings that you want to learn. Now I'm going to go through structure 2 very, very quickly. It's going to be simply an inversion of everything I just played. So instead of starting on the 3rd of our D minor 7th chord, right? Here's our D minor 7. We're starting on the 3rd. I'm going to invert this once and then again. So now we're going to start on the 7th with the 7th on the bottom. Everything does the exact same thing, but it's just going to be flip-flop. So here, I'm going to move my thumb down once, and then I'm going to move all these other notes down as well. Now look at this. We're playing the exact same thing we did the first time over the major 7th, but again, it's just inverted, right? all of the notes are exactly the same. So it's easy for you to learn, right? And again, go to jazzpianoschool.com, or you can go to jazzpianoschool.com/podcast 130 to pick up the practice materials for this episode and get these exercises to practice. So here's our rootless voicings. That's the third category of must-know voicings. And again, it's not easy practicing all of these. Obviously, it's going to take some time, but you have to learn all these voicings in this order. Now, the next step, number 4, is going to be our drop 2 voicings. We can comp very, very effectively with all the voicings I'm teaching you, but for now, it's just going to be basically your rootless voicings. All you know right now is one hand, right? So our drop 2 is going to actually begin to separate our voicings into 2 hands. So we're going to take our rootless voicing. Let's do, G minor 7 rootless voicing. Now they're called drop 2, and again, a lot of people call these the Bill Evans voicings because Bill Evans uses these a lot. We're going to take the second note or voice, right? They can also be called voices or note, from the top, and we're going to put it into our left hand. So we have this now. You hear how that changes the sound? Amazing. So we're going to do that for every single voicing that I'm playing. So here's this one, and then this one. Now, if you'll notice, I'm going to take the movements of this second voice from the top. So I'm going to take that F, I'm going to put it down here. I'm going to take this E, I'm going to put it down here. And I'm going to take this E, I'm going to put it down here. So the left hand, what my left hand is going to play is this. And my right hand plays the same thing. Okay, that is a drop 2. Very, very simple, theoretically, but it's going to completely change the way you sound when comping. And again, I'm throwing in some more advanced stuff there, but again, intermediate and advanced players, you're starting to come into the picture now of the way that you should be learning your voicings and knowing the 8 must-know jazz piano voicings. So you should know your drop 2s in all different fashions for your rootless voicing. So what you want to do is take both structures of your rootless voicings. So let's say in the key of C, and then you do your other structure. And then you go through the keys the exact same way. You go to the key of F, right? What we just did, right? Then you go to the key of B flat maybe, right? Then you do the other structure. Okay, and you work on your drop 2s through all your rootless voicings, through all of that good stuff, okay? So that was number 4. Number 5, we're almost getting there. Number 5 is going to be 3 different types of voicings that are going to create really, really well-balanced 2-hand voicings for you. Now, this is all in Jazz Piano School. If you have a membership with us, we teach this thoroughly with all the practice exercises. But the first setup, 2-hand setup, is going to be 1 and 7 of whatever chord you're playing. So if you're playing a G dominant 7th chord, you'd have 1 and 7 here. Now in every single voicing, you need 3 things. You need the bass note, 2 things, the bass note and the shells, okay? So I have the bass note here. Now I have one of my shells. The shells are the 3rd and 7th of the chord. So if I play a G7 chord, my 3rd and 7th are right here. So I need those in the voicing every time in order to capture the essence and sound in the harmonies of that chord. So I have one of the shells here, the 7th, right? I also need the 3rd. So what I'm gonna do with my right hand is put my 3rd right here. Now from here, I can do whatever I want, and you intermediate and advanced players, you can start to add extensions at this point, or you can fill with the 5. So you can fill with the 5, maybe add a flat 9 on top. Maybe you add a natural 9 on top. Maybe you add a flat 13 here. Maybe you add a sharp 11 and natural 13. Right now we're getting into really more advanced jazz voicings that all stems from this 2-hand setup. And again, I've just shown you one setup. So for a G7 chord, we could do a G minor chord 2. My 3rd would obviously change to the minor 3rd. Now I can fill again with whatever I want because I have the 2 essential components to a chord. I have the bass note and the shells. And again, you don't always need the bass note if you're comping and stuff like that, don't get me wrong. But if you're playing solo piano, it's very, very helpful to have these components, right? I still use this when I'm comping though. So I might play something like this, or I might play, something like this. And again, I have 1, 7, 3, and then I'm doing whatever I want. I'm filling with colors over here. So I might do this. Look at this. It's a beautiful texture. right? And don't let anyone say you can't do whatever you want, because you absolutely can. All right? I might do this, right? That's a beautiful sound, okay? So that's structure 1. Now structure 2, okay, the setup here for structure 1 was 1 and 7 in the left hand, and then the third is taken by the thumb. Structure 2 is going to be 1 and 3. Now I don't use this very, very often, but it can be very, very helpful in 2-5-1s. I do use it, but not often, okay? When you're voice leading through a 2-5-1, for example, from this structure, I'm gonna go to 1 and 3 here for my C7 chord. So if I started on a G minor, here's my structure 1, I'm gonna go to structure 2, right? Structure 2 is gonna be 1 and 3, and now my thumb takes the 7, not the third anymore, the 7, right, of my C7 chord. Here's the 7. And again, we're left with these other fingers to fill however we want. So I could play this, right? I could do, let me see, I could do flat 9. I could do, flat 13 here. I could do flat 9 here. I could do with the sharp 11 in natural 13, right? Creating beautiful, beautiful voicings from this simple structure. And again, 1, 3, 7. So we went from 1, 7, 3 to 1, 3, 7. And again, all these fingers here are left to color, if you know your extensions, however you want. That's more advanced, but work on these structures. So work on practicing these structures through all your keys. So 1 and 7, 3, right? So that's your minor structure. You can work on this for your dominant chords. Here's 1 and 7, 3. Right? Then you work on structure 2. 1 and 3 and 7 here. Right? You see that? Okay. Going forward. Whoops, sorry. Now, the last structure, which is very, very amazing because it allows you to do so many wonderful things, but you do have to kind of have bigger hands, is going to be structure 3, 1, 7, and 3. Your left hand takes 1, 7, and 3. Now, I can't reach this if I'm playing an A flat major 7, for example. I have to roll this, but I can still roll it. So I can do this. Or if I'm playing a dominant, I can do this. If you can't make it, just roll it, just like I do. Some of them I can make. I can do this. Right? 5, 2, thumb. Now, the great thing about this structure 3, right, for our 2-hand setups is that it allows your right hand to do whatever it wants because we have bass note and shells all being taken by one hand. That frees up our right hand to do whatever we want. Check it out. 1, 7, 3. I have all my essentials covered. Now my right hand can focus on coloring however it wants. I'm going to color this G minor 7 voicing, right? So I can play the 11, 5, 9, 11. I could even take both these notes with my thumb to give me a bigger spread in my right hand. Right? Now check it out. I can even do this. And then 13 up here. You see the power behind this structure right here? Because my right hand, whether I play the root there or the 9, I like the root as well. That's beautiful. The root is beautiful in here, just as much as the 9 is. I could even add more. I could add the 11 here as well. The options are limitless. That's why structure 3 is so great to have in your arsenal. So we have structure 1, 1, 7, 3, whether it's a minor, major, it could be a major 7 as well, right? You want to work on this with all 3 of your important 7th chords, major, minor, and dominant, right? Work through all your structures. Major, right? Do the same thing for structure 2. Here's structure 2, right? 1 and 3 and 7, okay? And then structure 3. Again, when I reach something I can't hit, I can hit all my minor chords here. Where was I? Minor's okay for me. When we get into the dominants and majors, that's when, like I can't hit this, so I'm gonna roll this. Okay, that's what you should be doing as well, rolling them. So number 5 contains 3 setups, right? The step 5 for the 8 must-know voicings actually contains 3 within those. Okay, and again, we're working up sequentially through all the must-know voicings. So 5 contains 3 setups. You have to practice because it's going to allow you to create two-hand comp. Check it out when I'm actually putting these to action. Sorry. There we go. So it allows us to create, amazing. Here's my setup 2, right? Amazing different voicings. Or if I'm using setup 3, right? So many different textures out of these two-hand setups. This step number 5 is so important. So that leads us to step number 6, which is going to be shells with any sort of right-hand texture. This is a must-know for comping purposes, right? So as long as you have your shells, again, your right-hand texture can be whatever it wants. So if I'm comping a blues, as long as I have my shells here, my right hand can play Rootless voicings. I might leave my 7 out here so I can kind of create a drop 2 effect, right? And again, the bass player's walking here. Doom, 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 doom. So shells, and again, that was one texture. I use my Rootless voicings. I can use octave with fifths here or octave with any kind of sort of chord tone in the middle. I'm kind of changing using the blues scale, my octave here. Shells in the left hand, right hand texture. Okay, that's number 6. And again, if you're always comping down here, most people actually don't even comp down here. They're always down here. So if you're always up here, learn number 5, what I just talked about. But again, this should be in your arsenal as well. Okay, left hand shells with, any sort of right hand texture. We got 2 left. I'm moving through these fast, guys, right? Because I want to go over all of them. Upper structure triads, right? Now, if you're not comfortable with extensions, this is going to be the best way to get into adding extensions, right? Now, your upper structure triads, there's tons. The premise behind this is going to be we're going to play a chord or shells in our left hand. Then we're going to take a triad, right? You can already start to see how triads are needed to start improving your voicings, right? If I told you to play a D major triad here and you don't know what a D major triad is, and you're not going to be able to use an upper structure triad. So rather than go through all the upper structure triads, I'm going to list those out in the practice materials for you if you go to jazzpianoschool.com/podcast 130, jazzpianoschool.com/podcast 130. You can get all of the upper structure triads I recommend for major 7th chords, minor 7th chords, and dominant 7th chords. Now, they're going to be chord symbols, so it's going to be like a 2 major triad. Right? So what I'm doing here is in the key of C, I'm playing a 2 major triad, which is my D major. This is giving me extensions, a preset. Think of it as like a template. Upper structure triads are like templates to get you into using extensions. A lot of people just, and then after you've learned them, you can use lots of different ones. Now again, flat 6 major triad is a great one. And again, I can play an inversion of this. Flat 5 is a great one. Okay. They're giving me a preset package of extensions. With my 2 major, I'm getting 9, sharp 11, 13. It's a preset. I don't even need to think about the extensions. I just need to think 2 major triad. Boom, I get this sound. I need to think flat 6 major triad. Boom, I get this sound. I get flat 13, root, and sharp 9. And again, I can invert this to make a different sound as well. Flat 5 is going to be, whoops, sorry about that. My alarm just went off. I'm cooking some salmon. Woo, I got to finish this video up. Otherwise, it's going to burn. Shoot. Okay. Flat 5 is going to be sharp 11, flat 7, and then flat 9, right? Those are extensions, right? It's a preset of extensions using your upper structure triads, okay? Very, very simple. Go get the practice exercises, and I'll show you the upper structure triads. Number 8, we are at number 8. It's going to be 4th voicings. These are must know to finish the 8 must know jazz piano chords, jazz piano voicings off. I'm going to show you your minor voicing because you can use this in so many different ways. So if we want a C minor voicing, we're going to play 1, 4, 7, 3, 5. This is our first structure. 1, 4, 7, 3, 5. Now we have fourths up until this third on top. Mainly fourths. The next one is going to be all fourths. 5, 1, 4, 7, 3. These are must-know voicings, and again, I'm not going to show you how we can move up and down the scale just yet, but learn all your minor voicings, right? Go through all your keys. You should know these in all different keys, both structures, right? So practice this structure as well. Now, what we can do with this is if to play over a dominant chord, we can simply play over an F dominant chord just by using the C minor voicing. Listen to this. It works. We're creating a sus over this dominant chord. So anytime you experience a dominant chord and you want to use a fourth voicing, you just need to think about the minor of fifth up. So if I want to play a G7 fourth voicing, I'm going to think about a minor fourth voicing, a fifth up from G. That's going to be my D minor voicing. So I'm going to play this. Right? Okay? Or the other, or the other structure. You can play this structure as well. Pretty cool, right? So the last one is going to be major. Now here's how the major works. I can still use my minor fourth voicing for major chords, but the interval is going to change. So for a major seventh chord, it's going to be a major third up. Major 7, major third up. Okay, major 7, major third up. So if I want to play a C major voicing, I'm going to play an E minor fourth voicing, right? Up, major third up from whatever chord I want to play. If I want to play an F major 7, I'm going to play a major third up from that, and I'm going to play the minor fourth voicing, A minor. This works for bow structure, guys. So you practice that through all your keys. You can get 3 sets of fourth voicings out of one minor fourth voicing chord, right? This or this. Both structures, okay? So that is the 8 must-know jazz piano voicings. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, go to jazzpianoschool.com/podcast 130 to get the practice exercises for this podcast.
All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the 8 must-know structures and voicings. Again, don't forget to go to jazzpianoschool.com/podcast 130 to get your hands on the free set of practice materials for this particular episode. And go ahead and click subscribe below because we release a free episode lesson like this every single Wednesday, and we also release a lick of the week every single Monday. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, things like that, just go ahead and leave them below, and I would love to know your favorite jazz pianist that you love their particular voicings that they use and play, right? If you love Herbie's voicings, go ahead and let me know that. If you love Chick's voicings, I would love to know your favorite voicing artist, right? Because some of those guys get some crazy stuff going on. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next episode. As always, have a fantastic day and happy practicing.